The welterweight sweepstakes has finally ended, and wow, a lot of changes has happened in this welterweight division. For starters, a new champ. Islam Makhachev is the new champ. He beats JDM. Ian Machado Gary had a very impressive performance against Bilal Muhammad. Michael Morales kind of sneaks in with a first-round knockout of Sean Brady, and Carlos Prates also knocks out Leon Edwards. With the welterweight sweepstakes being over, there is one thing that is apparent, which is not a single ranked welterweight has a UFC fight scheduled. With that being said, I am Santi and I want to matchmake the 170 division and kind of tail up all these guys and see who is fighting who next, or who I think will be fighting who next. This welterweight division is stacked, so every single fight I'm about to mention is going to be a barn burner. It is going to be such an exciting fight. But the big question is, can any of these guys beat Islam? We'll see. And let's start it off with Islam, our new welterweight champion, and who do I think he fights next? I was stuck between two guys. I was stuck between Michael Morales because, first off, Michael Morales definitely deserves it after the win that he just had, knocking out Sean Brady in the way he did and made it look super easy. However, after last week and seeing the promos that they were doing for Ian Gary, it just makes it so much more obvious that they are going to go with the Ian Gary route. And so I think Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary is the next fight that's going to happen. The UFC wants Ian Gary in a title shot, and they don't seem like they want Michael Morales in that title shot. Just given the way they were pushing Ian Gary in all the recent promos before Bilal Muhammad, and then afterwards letting him have his long call out, I just feel as if Islam versus Ian Gary is inevitable. And I think that fight goes pretty one-sided in my opinion. I think Ian Gary is super talented and does have a lot of things that can threat the Islam Makhachev game. But right now as we speak, we are looking at one of the more talented guys we have ever laid our eyes upon. I think Islam figures him out and ends up finishing him in the later rounds, or having a really gutsy decision where we really do see how good Ian Gary is. Which leaves Michael Morales, who I believe deserves this title shot, in a place where he doesn't really know what to go next. In my personal opinion, I think Michael Morales is going to end up having to fight another guy before getting the welterweight strap. And that guy goes by the name of Jack Della Maddalena. I think this fight makes a lot of sense. Michael Morales, who's coming off of a high-stakes knockout against Sean Brady, will probably need one more fight to get to that title. And vice versa for JDM. If he beats Michael Morales, he will probably need one more fight to get to the title again. Stylistically, this fight is so interesting. You have the big, strong striker in Michael Morales versus the technical, combo-heavy in JDM. If technicality can beat power, that's the big question. Me personally, I do think JDM gets it done, and I do think he beats Michael Morales in my prediction. I wouldn't sleep on Michael Morales in that fight, though, because he can make you go to sleep. The overall physicality and the striking capabilities of Michael Morales can pose a lot of issues for not only JDM, but also for the champ. I think first round Michael Morales is probably the best option to beat Islam right now, because Michael Morales can just catch you. And if he catches you, there's a chance you're going to be out of consciousness very quickly. And stylistically, who doesn't want to see that matchup? It's going to be such a fun fight. Moving on to my next guy, which is Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now, Shavkat's been out for a while. Everyone's been hearing about this, the injuries. He hasn't really fought in so long. What is going to be his next fight? And people are clamoring for him to have a title fight after this, which I don't think is going to happen. I think Shavkat has waited too long, and the UFC is not going to give him a title fight immediately, which leads me to believe in two things. One, he's going to have a fight. And number two, if Shavkat's going to fight, where is he going to fight? I think Shavkat is going to fight Carlos Prates next in a Middle Eastern or a spring card in Saudi Arabia. My logic is Shavkat won't get the belt next. Carlos Prates won't get the belt next. Shavkat's going to have to fight in the Middle East, and he's not going to fight another Middle Eastern guy like Bilal Muhammad. Perfect matchup, Carlos Prates versus Shavkat Rakhmonov in a 5-round fight night main event or a 3-round pay-per-view event. I would be so happy to watch that, because stylistically, you have the sniper and the cerebral striker that Carlos Prates is against the man that can do it all. The guy that keeps finishing everybody except Ian Gary, and the guy that is on the hype train that everyone wants to talk about. Everyone thinks and believes in Shavkat Rakhmonov. The only person that could maybe put him out is Carlos Prates. Stylistically, this fight just seems like gold in a pot. It is going to be a wonderful fight, and in my opinion, I want to say Shavkat Rakhmonov does it again, and I think he beats Carlos Prates and finishes him. Now, what I mentioned before about Belal Muhammad, he's not going to be fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov, so who's really next for Belal? I personally believe it is going to be Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman has done enough to get into this top 5, or at least fight a big contender. And who more than Belal Muhammad, a guy who is on the same age trajectory as Kamaru Usman, both former champions, and both guys kind of don't like each other. I do think these two are match made in heaven, where both of them, one's coming off of a win, the other one's coming off of a loss. I think Kamaru Usman can definitely beat Belal Muhammad while also putting up a really good fight with him. Both are grapplers who are turning into strikers, and so I feel like the matchmaking is going to put the two together, because when you have a grappler turned striker matchup, both of them, you're going to get a very weird dynamic if one of them is going to try to wrestle, or if one of them is going to at least pose the wrestling threat, compared to the other might be completely fine with striking with the guy, might be completely fine with outpointing him or trying to get the knockout. Those two being in the cage together poses for such an interesting matchup that I think the UFC are going to want to move towards that direction. So just to recap, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlos Prates, Belal Muhammad versus Kamaru Usman. We have Islam Makhachev versus Ian Gary, and Michael Morales versus JDM. That leaves a lot of the bottom half of the welterweights kind of without a fight as well. Let's start with Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady has been one of the more unlucky UFC fighters we have ever laid our eyes upon. He has gotten really bad knockout losses, but when he's looked good, he's looked amazing. And for some reason, people don't want to give him that credit because he beat Leon Edwards. Anyone beats Leon Edwards, according to everybody currently. So Sean Brady is kind of left in this weird mix where he's kind of outside of the top 5, shouldn't get a top 5 fight, but also he just came off of a knockout loss. Sean Brady's next fight, in my opinion, will be Jaquan Buckley. And I know that's a very interesting case, but I think Buckley is a UFC favorite where the UFC will definitely propel him up instead of propelling him backwards. Coming off of a loss against Usman where it seemed like he got dominated, he's going to want to bounce back. And why not bounce back against the guy who just lost to Michael Morales? Him versus Sean Brady would be super interesting because they are two very short and stocky 170-pound guys who can both wrestle, and Buckley posing a little bit more in the striking affair. Can Sean Brady pressure him and lead him to a submission loss, or lead him to an absolute beatdown the way Sean Brady does? That's the big question. I think the matchmaking for those two are just written in the stars as well. The match is going to be wonderful, and personally, I think Sean Brady is just a little too good for Jaquan Buckley, and I think he does what Kamaru Usman does, but to a bigger extent, to a more convincing fashion. Now, my last couple guys I want to talk about because I personally am a very big Leon Edwards fan. I think Leon Edwards is a man who is dealing with a lot of struggle, and is a guy that's kind of losing his identity of what he is as a fighter. We saw it against Carlos Prates where he kind of lost his cool and decided to stand and bang with Carlos Prates, which is the worst idea to do. Never do that. For some reason, Leon abandoned the wrestling, or at least abandoned the takedown threat, and decided to stand and strike and not try to outpoint Carlos Prates. He actually tried to outstrike Carlos Prates, which in my opinion just doesn't go well for anybody. And it didn't go well for Leon, who is now on the trajectory downwards. What is a fight that we can possibly do that can maybe either A, bolster Leon's confidence, or B, bolster another guy winning off of Leon's back? I think that fight is going to be Gabriel Bonfim. I think Bonfim definitely posed his dominance against Randy Brown and showed everyone why he is a top contender in the welterweight division. So why not give him a guy like Leon Edwards, who, if Bonfim wins, can definitely propel him up to a top 5 fight. Or if he loses, it's Leon Edwards. It's a former champ. And Leon Edwards ends up riding off into the sunset and being able to have a top 5 fight again. Leon Edwards versus Gabriel Bonfim makes sense. It just does. Because Leon Edwards, stylistically, is going to have a lot of issues with Bonfim, who is honestly a more aggressive version of Leon Edwards. It's a veteran versus a rising contender. Who does not love that matchup? And I think, man, I don't know what to think. My heart wants to say Leon, because I think stylistically, and I think in terms of a pure skill set, Leon Edwards is one of the most talented welterweights we have seen. However, Leon Edwards' mentality and Leon Edwards as a person can definitely throw him off of his fights, and we have seen that before. He has gotten flustered, he has gotten frustrated, and his talent does not show. So in my personal opinion, I think Bonfim gets this done, and with the pain of my heart saying that as well. I think he beats him, and I think he propels himself into the top 5. And with that being said, I have no real other fights in the top 15, other than maybe Gilbert Burns versus Jeff Neal, just because that is such a fun stylistic bout. I think that fight ends in a finish. And give me Colby Covington versus Tom Aspinall. I think everybody would love to see that. I think it's completely fair under the sanctioning rules of Nevada. I think Tom Aspinall versus Colby Covington is the next fight to make. And if Colby Covington doesn't want that fight, that's fine. Let's give him Francis Ngannou. Just keep giving the guy the heavyweights. Overall, I think I matchmake this 170 division very well and very realistically as well. I wanted to make a match card, or at least a card that looks believable. And that seems the most believable to me. As much as I want to see other fights compared to Ian Machado Gary versus Islam Makhachev, because I think Michael Morales has definitely earned that shot. It is what the UFC is going to end up doing. The UFC is going to pivot towards the big star, and the big star is Ian Gary at the time. My final point that I want to make with all of this matchmaking and all this fun that I just did is the fact that it really does not matter. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we have arguably one of the top 5 GOATs in this division. Islam Makhachev is proving to be other extraordinary. It is proving to be completely off of our radars and completely off of our charts. He is very close to being in the consensus GOAT conversation. I personally thought JDM was going to be the toughest fight Islam has ever fought, and he made it look easy. I look at this welterweight division, and it just doesn't seem possible that Islam could lose to any of these guys. Although a lot of these welterweights are posing very big threats and very big question marks that can be answered, it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like it's possible. As much as you want to believe in the Michael Morales power, it just seems like Islam would beat him. As much as you want to believe in the footwork and the movement of Ian Gary and the timing of Ian Gary, it just seems like Islam is going to beat it. As much as you want to believe in anyone else, we can name it, Bilal's wrestling, JDM's striking, Carlos Prates' sniper ability, Shavkat Rakhmonov's overall well-roundedness, it doesn't seem like any of these guys can beat Islam in the way he's looking right now. And when you look at the other welterweights and the welterweight prospects, the guys who aren't in the rankings list yet, it doesn't seem like those guys can beat Islam right now. Islam is at a mountain where he's at the very tippy top, and there's not a lot of guys who are climbing that mountain. It really does pain me to say this because I feel like I'm just glazing the guy, but Islam is actually doing something so extraordinary that he makes all these other 170 guys seem like bums. And it sucks because after the list of names and the matchups that I just listed to you, you can't tell me you don't feel some form of excitement in any of these fights. These fights are going to be fireworks. They're going to be stylistic matchups that we're going to love to see in 2026. But Islam just makes it feel like they are not worth much. You know, it gives me the DJ effect. When Demetrius Johnson was in the flyweight division and ruling the world, no one cared about any other flyweight because it was like, DJ's gonna beat him. For some reason, I feel the same exact way. It feels like Islam's gonna beat him. So at this point, who do you guys think beats Islam? That's gonna be my last question and my final thought to you guys, and I want you guys to answer this. Does Islam lose at welterweight? And if he does lose at welterweight, who does he lose to? And when does he lose to? Because right now as we speak, we're at a prime Islam. I don't see him losing other than losing to Father Time. How do you guys feel about this video? I had a lot of fun matchmaking this 170 division. Do you guys disagree with my matchmaking? Is there any fights that you think will happen? I wanted to cater it towards more or less the realistic options compared to what my dream matchups were. So let me know in the comments if you think the UFC will go with another route or if the UFC just completely bins my matchmaking ideas and just throws whatever they want. Kamaru Usman versus Islam might completely ruin this prediction because it is seeming like it's going to happen for some fucking reason. With all that being said, it's been Santi, it's been Studs.